Hi, this is an introduction to the ascending forces, and primarily the ascending yin forces that regulate the experiences of the mind and the body. I should begin this by saying that this information is not compiled in textbooks anywhere. It's not compiled in scientific evidence. There is no evidence of the existence of the soul, and there's no evidence of the existence of a spiritual body that in some form or another affects the physical body. There's plenty of evidence about the physical body, but there's also a lot to be learned about how all of this works. So this is a process of my own experience and my own discovery. There are many errors here as well. So you're on your own to be able to find out for yourself what's real, what works, what feels right, and is there something that you can do to utilize this information to understand yourself or your family or your relationship to your own soul. That's what this is really about. This beginning study of the 135 is a very important part because the 135 is the opening gate, or the bridge between spirit and matter, or the bridge between night and day. It is the experience of the bridge between the soul and the physical body. This is the line of the mind. This line of the mind has a lot to do with the spiritual body because the primary component that utilizes and expresses itself through the spiritual body is the mind. The soul primarily incorporates the experience of the feelings or emotions, and the mind primarily expresses itself through the spiritual body, linking it now to the physical body. So being able to recognize what these characteristics are, how they function, is the beginning of being able to open up the gate between the soul and the body. This is why I like to study it. You can spend a very long time on each one of these describing and explaining what these categories are. Physically, this part of the family tree is related to the metabolic functions, the metabolic capacity of the body. This is a very important place, and this is one of the most difficult to deal with on a physical level. Now these three triangles, they correspond to the three primary grandfathers from the mother's side of the family. This is just within 3 generations. This is mother's father, that's called number 1. Mother's father, called number 3. And mother's father's father, number 5. These 3 grandfathers, they are the composite experiences of what produces the metabolic potential of the body. And the first of these is the number 1, which is relative to the lungs or the breath. This is the primary experience of opening the metabolic potential of the human body is through the breath. The experience of the breath is now linked to the experience of the body chemistry regulator that operates in many different ways, but primarily through the sense of taste. And this experience has to do with the organ and sometimes gland called the pancreas. This is the place that produces the energy potential. Then the energy regulator happens to be the parathyroid. So this is the lungs, the pancreas, and the parathyroid. And the parathyroid is also linked to the eyesight. And these are all linked together into specific types of fears. Fears regulate this place very strongly because the mind's primary function is as an avoidance mechanism of fear. So to be able to experience, observe, and feel these 3 points more in depth gives us the opportunity to be able to experience or release, comprehend, or feel the different fears that correspond to them. These places are, to me, worth a great deal of study. They're also the 3 first places of what's called the forces from midnight till sunrise. They're the time period from 12 midnight to 6 a.m. approximately, depending on the season of the year. These are the ascending masculine qualities. They also have specific emotional attributes, and they have also some very clear lessons that we can learn to utilize. The first one is the experience of humility. Sounds like a simple thing, but humility is the primary instrument that, if you will, dilates our capacity to feel and to experience change. There are many things we can talk about what this really represents, and whatever my comprehension is today, tomorrow it needs to be better, because this particular place, linked to inspiration and the breath, has to do with my capacity to increase my capacity to open. It is my own experience of being able to use my feelings by my own choice to incorporate a greater experience of my soul through my spiritual body into my physical body. So this relationship of the experience of humility as the primary instrument that creates my capacity to open and change. The next part of this is the place that's called truth. Truth is the experience of being able to align oneself to the reality on a divine level, not the information that may exist on an intellectual level. This is a place of awareness. This is a place of understanding. It is a place of discovery. It is also a place that can be used to twiddle the dials of the intellectual mind through analysis. This is a very important place that is our experience to use our humility to increase our capacity to discover truth. The primary instrument here is about learning through awareness. Next part is the experience of the parathyroid, and the primary experience there is desire or free will. This is an igniting point that takes the energy of the humility and the truth and links it into the experience of the yang. So this is the primary igniting point. Sometimes I consider it to be like a pilot light that lights a flame, or it is like a diamond that makes very clear and personal choices. This is the place by which we express and realize perhaps one of the greatest gifts ever given to the soul, which is the experience to choose, or the right to be able to have our own way in the world, regardless of what that might be. There is an extraordinary individuality here, and the only real way to experience that is to choose to experience the singularity of one's own soul. Because only by the expression, voluntarily, of my own free will can I actually begin to understand or feel myself, or utilize other gifts like divine love to increase my capacity to make choices that are in alignment with truth, realized through humility. This line here is an extraordinarily important place to feel, experience, and comprehend. Each one of these is related to the associated mates, meaning these are marriages. This is mother's parents, mother's father, and mother's mother. These two here have a lot to do with realizing one's own self-image, and this is the interior experience of what now facilitates the experience of feelings. We've gone through a little bit of the descending yin before, how this is the experience of the lake and the ocean and the snow, and this is the experience of the bladder and the kidney and sometimes the reproductive tract. This is the experience of the bowels and the spleen and the ability to be able to let go and to receive. A very important place related to the heart. This one is the experience of the skin and the pineal and our capacity to be unlimited in our experience as a soul. The only limits here have to do with those things that we make choices with our free will. We can describe each one of these relationships as an individual relationship, which would take quite some time, more than we're willing to put in today. But the primary place we'd like to look at for just a moment is this relationship at number 3 and number 4, because this relates to the pancreatic function related to the bowels of the body and our ability to be able to receive blood back to the heart. This is the venous function as well. This is the place that's primarily the most difficult and most challenging place for all humanity. It has to do with truth. Yes, it has to do with the common metabolic dysfunctions like diabetes and everything that does affect the pancreas, and this is one of the most challenging places to understand and repair. This whole link of 1, 3, 5 is something that requires us to spend a great deal of time feeling and allowing and asking to learn more about. I will come back at another time and describe them much more in detail, but this is the introductory experience to beginning to understand 1, 3, and 5. If I could bring your attention for a moment to number 1. Number 1 is number 1 for a reason, because it is the primary experience that is completely personal to any one person, and that is their own experience with their divine creator through their capacity to be able to receive that creator through the increase of feelings. Okay, that sounds like a mouthful, but the experience of this place here, humility, is our willingness to change. It is also completely our willingness to experience and feel the complete totality of our own soul. By the emotional and feeling experience of our own soul, do we have a greater capacity to bring ourselves in harmony with divine love. Hence, this place here, the experience of humility, requires that we spend a lot of time examining what that means to us. And I would like later be able to share with you my own experiences about this place and give you some comprehension about what it means to me, and whatever it becomes to you is only something that you can feel in your own way, in your own time. This is the beginning of the study of 1, 3, 5. Have a good day.